Julia.
Hi, Jen. How you doing?
Good. Thank you so much
Good.
for being with us today. Jess is on the technical end of things. So you look so cute there. It looks like a very busy place.
It
So I'm
certainly
really
is.
excited about today's interview because it's so cheerful, fun, and cheerful and fun is something that we all really are in need of right now. To that end, how are you coming along with your quarantine situation, and have you taken the time to be as creative as you can be and spending as much time as you can in the studio? I'm sort of finding that a lot of artists, that's the way they're coping, and it only makes sense because it's the place they're comfortable.
Yeah, so it's interesting for me. I've talked to actually a lot of artists who are blocked right now, and I'm feeling very fortunate and grateful that I'm not blocked. I'm actually working on a body of new work, and I'm coming out every single day, and I'm really excited about it. Um, I've, for some reason, been attracted to, or I am attracting, dragonflies in my life. And I've never made dragonflies before. Um, but I walked in the studio one day and found a piece of rusty metal that I've had for years. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, those are dragonfly wings. So, and later, somebody told me that it's actually called a come along. So this metal thing on the back of this dragonfly is a come along, and so I wrapped it with screening and made wings out of it for this was the very first dragonfly that I made. And then and then I thought, I was looking around the studio and I was like, oh, that could be a tail, that could be a dragonfly tail, those are wings. And before I knew it, I had 7 dragonflies laid out in different stages on my workbench ready to make. And it's like, wow, it's so strange that I'm attracting dragonflies when I've always done sea creatures. So I looked up the symbolism of dragonflies, and I think it's really fascinating what I've been learning about them. And I'm just going to read like one little thing that I looked up. It says, having flown the earth for 300 million years, dragonflies symbolize our ability to overcome times of hardship. They can remind us to take time to reconnect with our own strength, courage, happiness. They signify change. And so when I read that, I thought, wow, the world needs some whimsical, fun art to take our minds off of the horrible life we're living right now. Like, it's just surreal and unprecedented. And anyway, so I'm just having a lot of fun making dragonflies.
That's fabulous. I love it. One thing I neglected to say is that Julia is a found object sculptor. And Julia, you've been with Casco Bay Artisans pretty much since the inception in 2012.
Yeah.
So I've seen a lot of creatures come and go out of our gallery, and so many people from all over the world are just intoxicated with these whimsical creatures that you create. And it's just been a lot of fun watching you work and your art grow. And it's lovely having, the opportunity to have been with you now for as long as we have been. And oftentimes I'll tell people when we're talking about your art in the gallery that you were born and raised in Canada, and a lot of your collecting started as a young girl. And I thought maybe you could elaborate on that a little bit, especially when we have the cork and the Canadian cork on the body. You had mentioned there's a certain, you feel lucky when you find that. So I just thought maybe you could elaborate on that a little bit.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I have memories of just my whole childhood, basically, in the days when kids were just let out of the house and, told not to come back until dinner time. We used to go, my good friend and I would go down to the Halifax waterfront And it was a real working waterfront then. And we would scavenge all day long. We would come home with our pockets full of rusty metal and stones and all kinds of stuff. And we'd paint them in her room, and we'd set them around the room and on display. We had a lot of fun doing that. And a few years ago, so I've done that all my life. Like every time I'm out, I usually forget a bag, which I can't figure out why, but anyway, I'm always like, my jacket's just loaded down, and I probably weigh 20 pounds more because of all the stuff that I can't leave without. So my dad, back to the Cork comment, my dad was cleaning out his barn, and he said to me, I went to visit, and he said, Julie, he calls me Julie. He said, Julie, I have this old bag of, it's full of cork and all kinds of weird stuff. But he goes, I'm going to throw it out unless you want any of it. So I went and opened up the bag and looked at it. And it was like this huge collection of the old cork floats with the holes in the middle that, fishermen would use at the top of their nets to float their nets. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he was going to throw this out, because it was, obviously to me, treasure. So anyway, that's the cork thing. And I used them for a while. I haven't used cork for a while, but I went through a phase with cork, and I used them for lobster claws. I would cut them and use them for lobster tails, things like that. But yeah, people know me now, and they know when they clean out a place and they find old interesting things that they call me and ask me if I want them, which is really nice.
Yeah, I love your story. And then it's followed by coming to the US, and you went to art school in the United States. Is that correct?
I went to art school in Nova Scotia, in Nova Scotia College of Art and Design.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
okay. You came into, now, did you study sculpting? I know you did a couple of different things.
Yeah. So I did a lot of textile design, graphic design, photography. I didn't take sculpture once. I wasn't even interested in it, which fascinates me now. But coming full circle, when I think about scavenging as a child, it totally makes sense to me now as an adult that I would be drawn to that.
Yeah, it's a lovely circle. And I'm just curious, does your family help you scavenge? Do they know, like, oh, mom, I know she'd love that. I know they're grown children, but out there when they're walking with, their dogs or their own kids, do they ever bring you things and say, Mom, can you use this?
Yeah, they do, actually. They both do. Pete's probably more of a scavenger himself. He'll often pick up shells and things like that for me. I would say my peers do that a lot. If they go traveling somewhere, they'll pick up something thinking of me. So it's really nice. I guess it comes from all around. People do that and think about it.
I see wings behind your head. Tell us a little bit about that gigantic.
So that's I was working on that yesterday. That's my 6-foot dragonfly. He's a bit of a challenge, but I'm struggling away. I was, practically sitting on top of it yesterday on the floor trying to wire the wings on, and it was quite a scene out here. So I'm still figuring out the dragonflies, and I will continue to make them until I know that I'm finished. It's like it's a cycle that I have to work through. But the thing that might be of interest is I did a lot of costume design, and I took costume history, in a couple different places, and I've sewn all my life, and it's really fun for me right now because I'm incorporating my sewing with making these dragonfly wings in particular. Like I will whip stitch the skirt, like I put screen on metal mesh, and I'll whip stitch with wire around the edges. And it's just a really methodical, happy process for me, because I've done it all my life. So I'm loving that costume design is meeting sculpture for me in my life right now.
That's really interesting and fun. Well, tell us a little bit about once you get through the Dragonfly series, do you have any other animals or any other creatures that you sort of have in the hopper?
I guess with the dragonflies, I've been thinking spring too, change, transformations, new season. And I started thinking about other insects, to tell you the truth. Since I've always done things that come from the ocean, I don't think I'll ever leave the things from the ocean, because that's in me. Growing up near the ocean, being born by it, and just that's part of me. So I'll always do that. But it's refreshing. It's a nice breath of fresh air right now to think about insects. So I've been thinking about bees a lot, and the importance of bees in the world, and the fact that we're losing the bees because of pesticides and, our human activity on the earth. So I've laid out a few rough ideas of what a bee might look like in my art, but I'm by no means to the point yet where I've wired one together. And I always look up the anatomy of whatever I'm doing before I do it, so that I can be as true as I can to that anatomy.
I also have a personal favorite, which are the seahorses, and I know that you have one that is close by. I was hoping you could share them.
Okay. Let's see if I can get it up here without dropping it.
Oh,
Can you see I don't know if you can see the whole thing. I can't tell. So
yeah.
the head, I have a lot of fun laying these out, because it's sort of engineering to me, to find the right shape pieces and to put them all together. This guy has a heart in his cavity. His head is oyster shells. What I really love is combining all of the elements. I love to combine stone, which is his head, iron, wood. Those are the three basic things that I like to combine. I'm really drawn to iron, so I usually put iron in the tail or something. This is copper. And then wiring everything together is therapeutic, and I try never to use glue or anything like that. Like, I like it to be as natural as possible. So I buy the wire unless I can find it. And I have found some really cool rusty wire, but it never lasts as long as I want it to. So I do have to buy wire.
I've always found it remarkable that you don't have to solder anything.
Yeah, I took a little class on soldering and thought I was going to get into that. And it's more than I want to get involved with right now. But I do have a dream to work very, very big. And when I get to that, like this is probably the biggest I've worked so far, the 6-foot stuff. But my wiring technique has gotten better. And so I can hold more weight together with wire now than I used to be able to. But when that ceases to exist, then I'm going to have to look towards welding, or put my idea together and ask someone else to weld the pieces for me. I might do that.
How are your hands, Julia?
Oh, they're beautiful.
Well, this has been really, really interesting. I really appreciate your time. I love coming in and looking at the studio virtually.
And I want to say too, Jen, that I love being part of your gallery. And I appreciate that we've known each other for so many years. Thanks so much, Jen.
Thank you so much. Take care. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, Julia.
Stay safe.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.